Hello, welcome to HITC Sport. Alright, since Frank Lampard's been booted out the door at Stamford Bridge, let's take a look at every Premier League manager's weirdest call this season. You know, their strangest decision. Whether it was benching someone or playing someone out of position, honestly, just picking a bizarre tactical move that had people ringing up the local loony bin. Right, let's go. Arsenal, Willian centre forward versus Man City. Mikel Arteta is being hailed as Pep Guardiola back too, right? A tactical genius who's about to rip football in half, alright? Well, when travelling back to the Etihad with Arsenal in October, here was his chance to once again outsmart his former boss. And so he chooses to stick Willian up front. I'm sorry, what? A clearly passed Brazilian with the motivation of a fridge. Again, like Conor McGregor, this fella probably spent his afternoon stuffing his face with pancakes in his mansion. Willian's fight and hunger for the sport is gone. This fella should be stuck in a dressing room with Oscar, Arnautovic and a bunch of Chinese plumbers, not playing as a centre forward at the Etihad. I'd understand if it was a striking crisis, but no, Arteta had a lethal goal scorer like Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang and chose to put him on the left wing. He was the one providing crosses for Willian, with actual centre forwards by trade Alexander Lacazette and even Eddie Nketiah left to rot in duffel coats on the bench. Honestly, Arteta, what is this? Aston Villa, not applicable. Okay, weirdly enough, Dean Smith is the only manager in the league not to do anything weird. Honestly, he hasn't played anyone out of position, literally nobody, just being pretty boring. So, moving on. Brighton, Ben White, right midfield versus West Ham. Yeah, this is what happens when you place your career in the hands of a modern day football hipster like Graham Potter. Football hipster managers are the type who just like to be different for the sake of being different. Crazy well, in 10 years they'll probably be telling their goalkeeper to stand on their head for penalties. While at Leeds, Ben White was hailed as the future John Terry. Well, how is he ever going to do that when he's been chucked around the pitch like a bastard balloon? So far he's played centre back, centre midfield and most unforgivably of all, right midfield against West Ham. Sure, Brighton clawed themselves a point, but good Christ, imagine if any Chelsea manager had told John Terry to play right wing back. He'd probably shove their head in a washing machine before going home to triumphantly romance their wife. White is a £50 million rated ball-playing centre half. Sure, Marcelo Bielsa is an innovative manager with weird philosophies on life, but he never once chucked White on the goddamn right wing. Come on, Hamill, this is your god. Burnley, ERIK, PIETERS, right wing versus Leicester. Sean Dyche is the opposite of a footballing hipster. Very rarely is he going to try unorthodox formations or play guys out of position. He's more likely going to be in danger of stuffing a boat of gravel down his throat before he'd ever do something wacky like telling Ben Mee to play as a number 10 trick Ortista. But still, on the opening day of the season, where Burnley conceded 4 at Leicester, he forced a 32-year-old left-back ERIK PIETERS to play right midfield in a 4-4-2. Kinda shows you the utter imbalance of the team. On the left wing, you've got a skillful Dwight McNeil with stepovers coming out of his ears, and then on the opposite side of the pitch, there's a lumbering, stumbling former Stoke left-back, a guy who'd probably crack his ribcage in half by even thinking about attempting a step over. Chelsea, Kai Havertz, centre forward versus Liverpool. Okay, Thomas Tuchel hasn't had the chance to do anything weird just yet, so I'm gonna have to take a look at something weird Frank Lampard did. Listen, yes, I realise Timo Werner often played out wide for RB Leipzig, but still, the man is a goddamn centre forward. Don't you tell me he's not, because I think Chelsea had enough wingers, didn't they? He was clearly bought as a striker. It's like if Arsene Wenger continued to stick Thierry Henry out wide. No. This was Wenger's first game at Stamford Bridge against Liverpool. He could have bagged himself a winning goal and it would have set him up to succeed. But instead, Werner finds himself out wide, crossing the ball for Kai Havertz as the centre forward. Just bizarre. We just stick Mesut Ozil up front as well. Crystal Palace, Jeffrey Schlupp, centre forward versus Newcastle. Listen, any team coached by Steve Bruce is there for the taking. Roy Hodgson is an experienced manager. No way in a cat's foreskin should he have been intimidated by the visit of Newcastle in late November. And yet he partners Jordan Ayew up front, not with either Christian Benteke or Michy Batshuayi, you know, actual recognised centre forwards with a combined 36 goals for Belgium. No, but with Jeffrey Schlupp, a winger who hasn't played up front in about 7 goddamn years. This complete lack of ambition didn't pay off. They lost 2-0, which was arguably more embarrassing than conceding 7 against Liverpool. Everton, Michael Keane, bench versus West Ham. This is just weird. Listen, who am I to question the infinite wisdom of a guy with 5 Champions League winners' medals? But Michael Keane has been an ever-present in Carlo Ancelotti's defence this season, even chipping in with 3 goals from centre-back. So why did he randomly dump him to the bench for the New Year's home clash with West Ham? Maybe if he'd been on the pitch instead, they wouldn't have sloppily conceded the winning goal to Thomas Tuchel. Fulham, Aboubakar Kamara, centre-forward versus Arsenal. I'm sorry, but how is Aboubakar Kamara still at Fulham? Is it just because he has the same name as Diamanti Kamara, who bailed him out of trouble during the Great Escape in 2008? Just keeping him around as some sort of good luck charm? You would think Scott Parker would want to distance himself from the giant pile of human sludge that relegated Fulham in 2019. Lads, during that season, KAMARA stole a penalty and missed it, and he apparently got arrested after a training ground scuffle. He was banished on loan to Turkey, and that should have been where he stayed. Don't start him as the lone striker for the opening day of the season home to Arsenal, with the previous season's top goal scorer no doubt crying on the bench. Anyway, Fulham lost by 3 goals, with KAMARA mostly resembling a human sack of potatoes. Leeds, Stuart, Dallas, centre midfield versus Newcastle. If you want to look for weird Marcelo Bielsa decisions, the Christ is above all of them. But then again, that's what makes him so so great. Again, this actually worked out the other night, so I'm not calling it a bad call, it was just strange. Stuart Dallas is an excellent fullback and a pretty decent winger if he wants to be. But come on, what person ever saw him and Rodrigo ever striking up a midfield partnership against Newcastle away? Rodrigo plays as a centre forward for Spain, while Dallas is a Northern Irish right back. Again, it's been like Alvaro Morata partnering Chris Baird in midfield. But hey, it worked. Leicester, WILFRIED and NDIDI, centre back versus Everton. I can only assume Brendan Rodgers was suffering a midlife crisis last month because good Christ, what was this? I realise WILFRIED and NDIDI is built like a powerhouse fridge, but he's one of the best defensive midfielders in the league. He is not a centre back. Clearly this was Rodgers' ego swallowing the chunk of his brain that stored the logic, because attempting to stop Dominic Calvert-Lewin, arguably the best target man in the league, with NDIDI playing in a back two. Wes Morgan was on the bench. I realise he's an old man, but how do you think the legendary club captain felt seeing his manager pick a midfielder to mark Calvert-Lewin instead of him? Just what? Liverpool, Jordan Henderson, centre back versus Southampton. Yeah, here's another midfielder playing centre back, and I'm sorry, the moment Jurgen Klopp named his starting 11 for the trip to Southampton, I'm pretty sure that was the moment he crippled the confidence of every young centre back in his squad. Both Rhys Williams and Nathaniel Phillips were given their chances already, so as soon as they saw Klopp field a sellotape together back two featuring two midfielders, oh, they must have spent the night sobbing on the bench. Good Christ, Phillips is nearly 24 years old. He's not a child anymore. And yeah, Klopp deems Henderson a better defender than him. Quite embarrassing, really. Anyway, this makeshift defense's clean sheet lasted for 83 seconds before Danny Ings nipped in to score the winner. Man City, Kevin De Bruyne, centre forward versus Chelsea. Okay, to be fair, this looked like a genius move considering Man City wound up winning 3-1 at Stamford Bridge, but let's be honest, with the run they were on, Pep Guardiola could have probably stuck a wheelchair-bound goose up front and they'd have still stuck 3 past a low on confidence Chelsea. But still, there's no bigger hipster call in world football than sticking Kevin De Bruyne, arguably the world's best midfielder, up front as a goddamn centre forward. Sure, he did well, but for a guy whose job it is to provide assists, then him playing with his back to goal, it must have been about as natural as licking a badger's face. Not only was Sergio Aguero on the bench, but so was Liam Delap, an actual striker. Or why not even stick Raheem Sterling up front and move Bernardo Silva onto the wing? Just nonsense. Man United, Timothy FOSU-Mensah, right back versus Crystal Palace. Yeah, this is just weird. First game of the season when Man United were slapped about 3-1 at Old Trafford by the mighty Crystal Palace, who'd have thought they would wound up top of the league in February after that debacle? Anyway, a big shock was to see Aaron Wan-Bissaka benched against his old club, with Timothy FOSU-Mensah playing right back, and that was the last time Solskjaer ever picked him in the Premier League, and he's just been banished to Bayer Leverkusen on loan. Just what were you thinking? Newcastle, Paul Dummett, left wing back versus Sheffield United. This is arguably the most laughable call on the list. Remember when Newcastle were the only team stupid enough to lose to Derby County in 2007? Well, looks like they're also going to be the only team to get beaten at Bramall Lane this season, and no wonder when Steve Bruce was making calls like this. I'm not sure if he slipped in the shower and cracked his head off the sink, but playing 5 at the back against a Blaze team who can't score, that's like fighting Deji by wearing a bulletproof vest and a ski helmet. Just a bit of overkill. And to top it off, playing Paul Dummett as a left wing back, Dummett, the guy who gets a nosebleed if he crosses the halfway line. Dummett's best position is the centre half, and he's an average enough left back, but wing back, a position of non-stop running, did you want to make him get sick on the pitch? And leaving the live wire Matt Ritchie on the bench? Just what? Sheffield United, RHIAN Brewster attacking midfield versus Everton. Chris Wilder thinks outside the box. Overlapping centre halves? Yeah, he probably goes to bed at night with a tactical board in his hand. But come on, look at the state of this on Boxing Day at home to Everton. I can only assume Wilder drank too much sherry the night before, because here we have both Ollie McBurney, a 6'4" target man, and RHIAN Brewster, a clinical goal machine underage level, both playing as attacking midfielders, with Oliver Burke, a Scottish winger or wing back, with him being the only one playing the target man centre forward role. This is like Peter Crouch and Michael Owen creating chances for Jermaine Pennant up front. Just no. Southampton, Theo Walcott, centre forward versus Liverpool. Okay, Theo Walcott has played a bunch of games up front for Southampton this season and a lot for Arsenal as well, but this was just a surprise. Listen, it paid off. Southampton won the game, but starting both Danny Ings and Walcott as a strike partnership, you would assume it wouldn't work, because Ings works well off a powerful target hold-up man like Che Adams. Walcott is just a pacey live wire. But hey, it worked. Tottenham, Dele Alli attacking midfield versus Everton. Considering how little Jose Mourinho clearly rates lazy boy Dele Alli, it was just a bit of a surprise that he chose to start the season with him, sticking him in the number 10 role at home to Everton. Sure, he was yanked off at half time, but still, you'd think after 10 months on the job, Mourinho would be starting Moussa Sissoko, Tanga Inambole, Eric Lamela, Stephen Bergwijn, anyone ahead of Ali in that match. West Brom, GRADY DIANGANA, centre forward versus Crystal Palace. Yeah, this was probably why Slaven Bilic was sacked without a fuss. Losing 5-1 home to Crystal Palace is bad enough, but choosing to stick the wafer-thin, jinky winger like GRADY DIANGANA up front, it doesn't make sense. The guy has the muscle strength of a block of Weetabix. Charlie Austin spent the entire game on the bench and honestly must have been daydreaming about drowning Bilic in a public toilet. West Ham, Ryan Fredericks right wing versus Chelsea. Possibly the most pointless substitution of the season. I understand if David Moyes wanted to give Jared Bowen a rest in that 3-0 defeat at Stamford Bridge, but substitute him with half an hour to go with it, not 30 seconds. This is an injury time sub with bang average right back Ryan Fredericks being chucked on the wing in the 90th minute. I'm still trying to work out why. Wolves, Morgan Gibbs-White centre forward versus Everton. Remember when the media were losing their mind over the teenage deep line midfield playmaker Morgan Gibbs-White? Well, he was recently dragged back from an injury hit spell at Swansea on loan, and Nuno Espirito Santo decides to play him up front, a virtual midfield hobbit, as Raul Jimenez's replacement as the target centre forward against Everton at home. Again, no wonder they lost the game. Patrick Cutrone is an Italian international striker with nearly 100 games for AC Milan, so being benched for a midfield dwarf? Come on lads, what? Anyway, that's the end of the lads. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and as always, I'll talk to you in a while.